Good morning, traders. How are you all doing today? Karibuni sana. Glad you could all join us this fine Wednesday morning. Hope everyone is doing well today. So apologies for starting a few minutes late, just needing to adjust a couple of things. So hi everyone, for those who are new, my name is Mitch Kanyaru and I'm a trader with Afriforex. I want to welcome you to another Afriforex daily analysis session. Now during these sessions, we as the Afriforex team, we analyze the markets early in the morning, we identify what trading opportunities we will be looking at taking for the day, and we do share that information with you. So as usual, we have the Afriforex team, they are here in the back office. So if you have any questions or queries, you can feel free to ask them on the chat box, especially if you are watching it live, you will be able to get a response. So let's jump straight into it. So as usual, we'll start off with our watch list. Now, you can see here's our watch list for today, Wednesday the 15th. Now, one thing you realize between yesterday and today, yesterday we were looking for buying opportunities on the US dollar, the Canadian dollar, the Japanese yen, and the New Zealand dollar. And we were looking to mix and match those pairs with the pairs on the sell side. Those are the Australian dollar, the British pound, the Swiss franc, as well as the euro. Now you can see today there's just been one slight change where the US dollar has actually just moved to the sell side. However, we will still be looking for buying opportunities on the Canadian dollar, the Japanese yen, as well as the New Zealand dollar, and we're going to mix and match them with all the pairs on the sell side. So before we do focus on today's pairs, we will end up having a look at the pairs that we did have yesterday, but we're not going to be looking at today. Have a look at them, learn from them, see what we could have done or what we shouldn't have done before we do end up moving on to the pairs for today. So as I mentioned, that's the watch list for now. We do have a number of fundamental news coming out today. Yesterday and the day before, there weren't that many. But as you can see today, we do have quite a bit of volatility, at least coming onto the charts. You can see we have some British pound fundamentals, which is coming out at 10 o'clock during the London market open. So sorry, during the Frankfurt market open, apologies for that. So just make sure you take note of that because we expect some movement on the British pound pairs. As well as you can see afterwards, we have some euro fundamentals. Unfortunately, this euro news, which we did have yesterday, it did end up moving to today. So there was no euro fundamentals yesterday. And as you can see, we have a lot of fundamentals coming out during the US session. So at least today, we do end up expecting quite a bit of volatility on the charts. So let's jump onto the pairs that we did have yesterday that we're not going to be looking at today. But we end up having a look at a few screenshots that we didn't manage to get. Then we will jump on to today's pairs. So right here, we'll start off here with the Australian dollar against the US dollar. Remember, yesterday, our bias on this kind of pair was to look for selling opportunities. Remember, when we're discussing this market, the price was within the seller's area. Remember, we did point out we need to see some sort of confirmation that the big boy sellers are actually active. You can see the market did end up doing a very nice probe going to the upside, even just based on this illustration, especially if you just go down to a smaller time frame. So in this situation, the 3-minute time frame, and you can see once the price did come to the downside and came back in, you can see it gave us confirmation that the price was falling below and there was a selling opportunity at that point in time, being able to come down all the way till the buyer's area that we did point out where you should have managed your trade from. And you can see at that point in time, so if you did end up taking a trade during the London session, at 4 o'clock, you can see the price was back within a buyer's area. 4 o'clock is the US market open. So you can see the big boys at that point in time did end up coming to the upside. Remember, the US dollar fundamentals did change. And this is one of the reasons why they did end up reacting during the US session. So unfortunately for us, even though there was a small trading opportunity yesterday, this is a pair that we're not going to be focusing on today. Now, moving on to the next pair we did also have the British pound against the US dollar. This currency pair, our bias was to look for selling opportunities. Similar situation with the Australian dollar against the US dollar. During the London session, we did see the price actually going to the upside. Unfortunately, we could not get it all the way up till our main seller's area, but you can still see it did end up reacting within this area where the sellers reacted from before. So it didn't manage to get towards that level, and you can see the price was there at 11 o'clock. So the London session, you can see the price didn't manage to come down. If you missed that trade, you can see even similar situation based on the illustration. Once the price broke the downside, we did get a confirmation showing us evidence that the price is holding below, and you could have actually been able to look for another selling opportunity to come down. Remember, we always point out market opening times are times where you should definitely manage your trades or giving you an opportunity to enter your trades. Because you can see if you did end up entering your trade during the London session, you just closed your trade once the US market opened at 4. You can see the price is all the way down within the bottom area. And it seems that it's a similar situation with all these other US dollar pairs. During the US session of the New York Stock Exchange, we can see the weakness that did end up coming in on the US dollar. So unfortunately for us, this is a pair that we're not going to be looking at today. Now, Moving on to the next pair we do have the US dollar against Swiss franc. Similar situation yesterday. Bias was to look for buying opportunities. You can see the three areas that we had pointed out. Now, initially, when we were discussing this price early in the morning, or at least this start early in the morning, the price was within this bias area. Remember, we did mention we wanted to see whether or not we could end up getting some sort of probe right here. You can see that's exactly what it did, where the price that came all the way back down to the extreme during the London market open, just bounced off that area and didn't manage to come to the upside. Even though it was quite big, this was technically still a probe, and there was a small opportunity to look for your buying opportunity once the price did go to the upside. It's a similar situation. Enter your trade at that point in time. Make sure you manage your trade once the US session is opening, because you can see at 4 o'clock, that's when the US dollar did end up starting to bring in that weakness, and you can see the price did start going down lower. So unfortunately, this is a pair that's off our watch list for today. Now, the next pair we did have was the euro against the US dollar. Now, unfortunately for us, this pair did not work out well. Something happened with the euro where all of the euros were pulling back based on a higher time frame, but we'll end up having a look at that. So you can see the game plan, what we wanted to see. Some big boy sellers actually coming in to actually take the price down lower. Fortunately, the price is just holding within this area. Nothing really much happened during the London session. Once the US session came in, price was within this buyer's area. You can see that US dollar weakness continue to go to the upside. And we did get confirmation once the price broke to the upside and held above, for sure, this pair did end up falling off our watch list. So unfortunately, we're not going to be focusing on this today. So before we do focus on today's pairs, let's have a look at a few screenshots that we didn't manage to get. So I want to give a big shout out to Christine Washera. You managed to grab a very nice selling opportunity on gold, but I do end up hoping you did manage your trade. I know this was a sell within a small seller's area. Can see the price is coming down in your favor. You end up hoping you managed your trade as the price was coming down lower, because we know we had a bias area that we did point out, as we will end up going through it later on, and it did end up bouncing up and going up from there. But I do end up hoping you manage your trade, Christine, and very, very well done for sending your screenshot. So also next we did get Peter Washera. You did manage to grab a very nice selling opportunity. Similar situation on gold. It seems at least here you have managed your trade, putting your stop loss below your entry point. And you can see the price is coming down in your favor. You can see your take profit here. I hope we did end up getting towards that area. But as I mentioned, we will have a look at the pairs that we did end up focusing on. And we will see that the gold did end up actually going to the upside. But very, very well done on this trade, Peter and Christine. Keep up the good work that you're doing. And remember, guys, if you do manage to take any setups based on things that we do share, feel free to send them in to us. Our contact details are in the description. So let's focus on today's pairs. So as usual, we'll start off with the Canadian dollar. We'll mix and match them with the pairs on the sell side. Move on to the Japanese yen, then do the same thing with the New Zealand dollar before we do have a look at the indices, as well as gold and silver. Now, starting off with the Canadian dollar pairs, we'll start off with the Australian dollar against Canadian dollar. Now, in this kind of pair, yesterday, our bias was to look for selling opportunity. Similar situation to today, where we can see the price did come down quite aggressive. This seems to have been on Friday. Seems that we have been on a pullback coming in the past 2 days. But yesterday, we wanted to see whether or not we could grab a selling opportunity. You can see the price did manage to come up. Unfortunately, could not get all the way till our top area. But if you do take note of the time, that was at 11 o'clock during the London market open, when you can see the price did manage to attempt to come down lower. Now you can see the illustration that we had pointed out here. We needed the price to come down lower and hold below. And you can see that did not happen within this area. It came down and went straight back up and was holding above. The only time it has actually confirmed that it's held below is during the Asian session, where you can see right now it's come to the downside and it seems to be holding below that area, which is a good sign for us. So overall, we'll still be looking for selling opportunity on the Australian dollar against the Canadian dollar, focusing on these three areas. So the aggressive seller's area is the red support resistance area, meaning if the price ends up getting towards this area, this is the last place we can end up looking for selling opportunities. And if the price breaches and holds above this red SNR, this pair will fall off our watch list. But right now, we're within the conservative area, where we potentially could end up seeing some sort of potential trading opportunity right here. Maybe if we do see some sort of probe or price action signal, remember, the market is not necessarily going to move just randomly. It has to have some sort of fuel, and that fuel is usually the big boys. And those big boys usually come in during the market open. So 10, 11, 4, and 5:30. So just because right now you're seeing it's within a good area, that doesn't mean the trade is just ready yet. Have a look at the markets at 10 and 11. You could find that the prices are within a very nice area for you to look for your trading opportunities there. So hope that's clear on the Australian dollar against Canadian dollar. As we move on to the next Canadian dollar pair we do have, which is the British pound against Canadian dollar. Similar situation yesterday, our bias here was to look for selling opportunities. Hence, the price was holding above within this particular area. Remember, we did point out that we wanted the price either to go to the upside or to give us a pullback, show us confirmation that the price is holding below for us to look for selling opportunities. Now, this one would have been a bit difficult to get because you do need to go down to a smaller time frame to see what actually ended up happening, because you can see the price was holding here. Once it did reach the downside, there was a small pullback. Unfortunately, could not get all the way to the top right there. So it might have been a bit difficult to get that trade, but we can still see the trade worked out very nicely during the London session. But once the US market did come in, the price was back within a buyer's area. So at that point in time, there was no trading opportunity just yet. You can see a pullback did end up starting to come in at that point in time. So overall, our bias here is definitely still going to be looking for selling opportunities. We've adjusted the top level slightly. So our red support resistance area or aggressive area is right here at the top. So as long as price is holding below that area, our sells are still on. So the price can still give us a pullback all the way to the top. It can come up the whole day, but overall, we know we're still within a seller's market and we should still be looking for selling opportunities within there. So right now, as the price has bounced off here, you can see the way the buyers are struggling. So potentially, we could end up getting this market giving us some sort of pullback, coming back within this particular area, giving us some sort of global price action signal, where we could potentially end up looking for a selling opportunity. Remember, we did end up getting the price breaching to the downside. We never really got that retest. It potentially could end up coming in today before we do end up seeing the price coming down lower. But do take note of the time. Remember, here we're dealing with the British pound against the Canadian dollar, and we do have a lot of British pound fundamentals at 10 o'clock. So do take note of that. We could end up finding that that's when we could end up getting a nice trading opportunity then. Now, moving on to the next Canadian dollar pair we do have. Here we have the Canadian dollar against the Swiss franc. Yesterday, our bias wants to look for buying opportunities. Today, it's still the same situation. You can see yesterday, wanted to see some sort of probe or price action signal as the price approaches this buyer's area. We did get the market actually probing. You can see it came down, spiked to the downside, never held below, went straight back in. So there could have been a potential buying opportunity then, but it wasn't really much, or at least very active, because you can see the London big boys attempted, but at 4 o'clock, once the US market did come in, we can see they were more interested in giving more of a pullback, especially if we go up to a larger time frame. Compare how the buyers have ended up coming to the upside within this particular area right here. So you can see how many candles it's taken. So 1, 2, or around 4 candles to go to the upside. But look at how many candles it's taken just to come back down to that same area. So overall, we're still within a buyer's market. Definitely, this move to the upside, everyone was jumping in on buying opportunities there. As the price came down, more people started jumping in on buys. But remember, in order for us to buy, we need sellers. So right now, as the price has come down lower, guaranteed most people are jumping in on sales, not realizing we're back within the main buyer's area where the buyers were very interested in taking the price up higher. So in this situation, still the same thing. We'll wait to see how this market gives us a pullback, and we'll still be focusing on the same areas. Right now, the main thing we're waiting for to see is some aggressive buyers coming in. So if we do see some buyers coming in with some aggression, so let's say, for example, we see the price coming down, then we see some big boy buyers, we see the sellers slowing down, we could potentially end up looking for a buying opportunity then, especially if it is within the buyer's area. In similar situation, if the price is able to break this area to the upside and hold above, then we should be able to continue looking for buying opportunities as well on the Canadian dollar against the Swiss franc. So hope that is clear on the Canadian dollar against the Swiss franc. As we move on to the next Canadian dollar pair we do have, right here we have the euro against the Canadian dollar. Now, yesterday our bias was to look for selling opportunities. It seems the euro pairs, the big boys were not interested in it yesterday. It seems that they were actually giving us more of a pullback, especially if you go up to a higher time frame. You can see the market has been coming down for quite a while. We needed to get more and more of a pullback, possibly to incite a few more people to jump in on the buy before the big boy sellers can come in. So you can see right now we've gone back to the main extreme sellers area who didn't manage to push down lower. In similar situation, the buyer has been struggling going to the upside. So overall, we'll still be looking for these selling opportunities based on these 3 areas. But remember, right now, we're within a very interesting area, because if the price breaks and falls above this red support and resistance area, this pair will fall off our watch list. But as long as the price is holding below, definitely we should still be looking for selling opportunities. Even right now, if we could end up getting some sort of small pullback coming in, could definitely find a very nice selling opportunity available for us. Remember the aspect I keep on mentioning, most people are actually going to chase the market. In the case of the euro, everyone was jumping in on sales. They needed to incite people to actually buy in order for the sales to continue working. And I think That is actually what has been happening the past 2 days. So we'll wait to see what ends up happening, but definitely our bias is still to look for selling opportunities there. Now, moving on to the next pair we do have, this is a brand new pair on our watch list. Here we have the US dollar against the Canadian dollar. Remember, it's new on our watch list because the US dollar and the Canadian dollar were both on the same side of our watch list, and we don't mix and match pairs that are on the same side. So in this situation, the fact that the price has now switched, or at least the bias has switched for the US dollar, we can technically look for selling opportunities here. But remember, the rule that we always point out, buy with buyers, sell with sellers. Right now, we want to sell, but we're within a buyer's area. So we need one of two things to happen. Either a pullback coming in, potentially within this first support and resistance area. We'll wait to see what kind of reaction happens here. If we do not see any reaction, then we'll wait to see if we can see some sort of reaction at the top there for us to look for a selling opportunity. Alternatively, if these buyers are not very interested or very strong to take it up and the sellers decide to continue coming down lower, similar situation. Let's wait for a pullback to come in, show us confirmation the price is holding below for us to look for those selling opportunities there on the US dollar against the Canadian dollar. So that's the game plan for all the Canadian dollar pairs. As you can see, we'll mix and match the Canadian dollar with all the pairs on the sell side. So right now we're going to move on to the Japanese yen before we move on to the New Zealand dollar. So starting off with the yen pairs, we have the Australian dollar against the Japanese yen. Now, yesterday, our bias was to look for selling opportunities. It is still the same situation today. You can see the market did end up giving us a very nice selling opportunity yesterday at around 11 o'clock, where they did end up getting the price coming up higher. You can see the market did manage to come down lower, but at 4 o'clock, the price is back in the buyer's area. So you can see the buyers attempted to push to the upside, but we are still holding within the seller's area. And that's the reason why we keep on mentioning this level is breached the upside. That's when the pair falls off our watch list. But you can see we need some sort of big boy to actually move the market. So it seems yesterday the London big boys were not interested. The US big boys were not interested. However, today the Asian big boys are interested. And it's no surprise since we're both dealing with the Australian dollar and the Japanese yen, which are economies that are very active during the Asian session. I mean, that's the time when they're awake and they're doing business. So you expect some volatility on those pairs. So today, as you can see, the price has come down quite aggressive. We've bounced off this area. Just because you've seen this aggressive sellers coming in, do not start jumping in on sells just also because we've said to jump in on sells. Remember, we're within an area where they're buyers. So in this situation, one of two things needs to happen. Could potentially end up getting a pullback. Now, the question of whether or not it will get all the way to the top, I'm not necessarily too sure if it will, but there is a small support and resistance area right here that was actually broken. So there's potential, rather than jumping in on selling opportunities here, let's wait for a pullback to come in. The price can pull back within this area, then there's potential, even if you have a selling opportunity there and your stop loss above there, that would at least be more secure for your trade. So if it manages to go all the way to the bottom, you can see a risk of 34 pips targeting 86, at least would give a risk reward of 1:2.5. However, do be patient. Let's wait to see what kind of pullback comes in. And remember, these markets are mainly active during the session open. So take a note or look for your opportunity either 10, 11, 4, or 5:30. That's when you could end up finding the trade really working out. But we'll be very interested to see what happens on this pair. So moving on to the next yen pair we have the British pound against the Japanese yen. And here is a pair that we're definitely going to be looking at for selling opportunities. It was a pair that we're looking at yesterday for sells. So you can see the three areas that we had pointed out. It's still going to be the same three areas today. As you can see, yesterday we were just bouncing off these particular areas in some sort of small range. It seems that the market did end up attempting at 11 to actually come down lower during the London session. We could not necessarily fully hold below this particular area where you can see the price came up, and this was during the US market open. So we can see the correlation coming in with the yen pairs. We've seen the same thing, or the same story happened with the Australian dollar against the yen, and the same thing has happened with the British pound against the yen. So you can see it did end up pulling back, going back to the extreme area, and right now we are starting to see some yen strength coming in. So similar situation. Remember, we always point out that the yen pairs are very much correlated. So if you see one thing happening on one pair, chances are it would be happening on the other pairs as well. So in this situation, we can see the price did manage to come down quite aggressive. Similar story with the Australian dollar against the yen. Right now, we have seen aggressive sellers coming in, but we do not want to jump in on selling opportunities just yet because we're back within where they're buyers. So let's see if we can end up getting this pullback coming in. Now, the question of whether or not we'll get all the way to the top, it's a similar story with the Australian dollar against the yen. So we might end up finding this price actually still pulling back, maybe this support and resistance area that was just broken. So you could find the price pulling back there before we do end up seeing the price coming down lower. Now, if you miss your trading opportunity there, you can get the price breaching and holding below this particular support resistance area. You can see it attempted that yesterday. It could not do that. So if you do end up seeing that today, there's potential for this price to actually continue coming down low. So we'll wait to see what ends up happening. But remember, something you can use is correlation, especially with the yen pairs. So hope that's clear as we move on to the next yen pair we do have. We do have the Swiss franc against the Japanese yen. You can see the same correlation coming in, although this one looks slightly different, although the story is still the same. So story from 11 o'clock, the price attempted to come down lower, could not, because you can see we're within the seller's area. The US big boys at 4 o'clock did manage to actually continue pushing it up higher, coming back to an extreme area that we did end up having. So overall, the bus is still going to be looking for sells, because you can see it's still respecting the same areas. Right now, all it needed to do was incite people to look for those buying opportunities before the sellers could come in. You can see the price went to the extreme, incited very many people to look for the buys, and you can see right now how aggressive it's coming. And you can see the same correlation coming in within all these yen pairs. So it's a similar situation. Right now, the support and resistance area that was breached was right all the way at the top. You can see the sellers are coming, were bounced off a buyer's area, and we do not want to jump in on our selling opportunities just yet. These are good signs that the big boys are there, but remember, we possibly need some sort of pullback coming in before we're able to look for those selling opportunities. Now, that's where we're probably expecting the market to come up to. At least that's where I would probably expect to come up to. And that would definitely end up giving a much better risk to reward. If you're looking for your selling opportunities there and having your stop losses just within here, or at least above this area, around 32 pips, then you can see the potential of it going all the way to 144 pips. So that's a risk reward of 1:4.5. So there's a lot of potential. But if you start chasing your trading opportunities here, having your stop loss there, you just get a risk reward of 1:1.37. So that does not necessarily make sense. You need to end up being correct way more times in order for you to make money. So that's not what we want. We want the prices to come to the areas that are of interest for us to look for those trading opportunities. So in this situation, let's wait to see how the pullback comes in. Remember, you can end up having a look at the other yen pairs, as they will give you a clue and when the trade could actually end up starting to work. So hope that's clear on the Swiss franc against the yen as we move on to the next pair, the euro against the Japanese yen. Now, in this pair, yesterday our bias was to look for selling opportunities. Now, look at the areas that we did have, the areas that we highlighted were right here. And the market did manage to hold within this area, but 11, it reached to the upside. And you can see once it got confirmation, once it reached and held above, at that point in time, it did fall off our watch list. However, the reason why we're still looking for selling opportunities is because it seems that this trade was based on a much bigger time frame, especially maybe if you go up to the 4-hour time frame. You can see the sellers who pushed down are right here all the way to the top. They only managed to push down here, and this is just one of their pullbacks that are coming in. Now, the pullback undoubtedly has come in quite aggressive, coming all the way to the top, but overall, we are still within a seller zone. Ideally, these are concepts we do teach within the masterclass course. Now, since we are still within a seller's area, you can see the price did end up continuing to pull back, giving us all the way, at least going all the way back to the main seller's area. And we can see the same correlation coming in with all these yen pairs, where we can see aggressive sellers are really coming. So you definitely know this is definitely the Japanese yen, which is controlling these markets right here. So right now, as the price has come down, you can see a similar correlation that's happening. Let's wait to see if we can end up getting a pullback. Pullback can come back within the support and resistance area before it comes down. But due to the fact that we've had a look at the other yen pairs and we've seen some sort of support and resistance area within there that the price could pull back to, don't be surprised if you find the market just spiking. Could potentially go to the upside, spike there before coming back in. So just take note of that as well. But overall here, definitely we will still be looking for selling opportunities. Let's wait for that pullback to come in before we're able to jump in ourselves. So hope that's clear on the euro against the yen as we move on to the last yen pair we do have. So these are brand new entering our watch list, the US dollar against the Japanese yen. So we just put these levels today morning, and it seems that the yens are really taking off to the downside right here. And ideally, remember, that means yen strength. The price is going down lower. So we have identified these three levels. It's a similar situation where the sellers, yes, have come in, but we're back in a buyer's area. So even though we know the market, the sellers are the ones controlling the market, we should not jump in on any selling opportunity just yet. Watch out for the area. So let's wait to see if we can end up getting this pullback coming in, maybe getting some sort of probe or price action signal towards the support and resistance area. But if you took note, the way we've had a look at all these levels that had just been breached before that move to the downside, then if you have a look at the US dollar against the Japanese yen, then chances are it could even just spike towards that area. So don't be surprised if you find the market just spiking to that location If you see aggressive sellers reacting from there and the price falls below, you could definitely find some very nice trading opportunities on the US dollar against the Japanese yen, or at least on multiple yen pairs. But one thing to take note of, just because you're seeing all the yen pairs are working some way, yes, there's the potential of if you enter all of them, you can make a lot of money, but also think of the opposite. If you enter all of them, you have potential to lose a lot of money, because if one doesn't work, then all of them will not work. So don't necessarily put all your eggs in one basket. Don't pick all of them. Just look at the one that you would prefer, the one that gives you the best risk reward, and end up entering maybe one or two of them, but do not necessarily enter all of them, because you do not want to end up if something goes wrong, that could end up easily wiping your account. But even though the positive is still there, where it could end up also really boosting your account, remember, you want to do this consistently every day. So you don't want something that is involved around luck, right? So hope you end up taking that advice. So let's move on to the next pairs that we do have. Right here, we have the New Zealand dollar pairs. We'll mix and match them the pairs on the sell side before we do have a look at the indices, as well as gold and silver. So right here, we'll start off with the Australian dollar against the New Zealand dollar. Now, yesterday, our bias was to look for selling opportunities. You can see the market was within the bias area. Wanted to see either a breach and a hold below for us to look for sells. It did end up attempting to do that, but unfortunately could not really go to the downside. Once it came back up and was holding above, and you can see it lines up with the US market open. You can see the pullback did end up coming in. Now, you can see even based on the illustration that I had pointed out, this is what we definitely ended up wanting. You can see it react within the seller's area where it's struggling to actually come down. We've seen some sellers reacting here where they managed to come down. And look at the way the buyers are coming up. We definitely seem to be struggling. So overall, we'll still be watching out for selling opportunities here on the Australian dollar against the New Zealand dollar. Right now, we're pulling back within a very nice area of interest. So watch out for the market opening times. You could easily find some very nice selling opportunity within this particular area right here. Or if this level doesn't hold, so you maybe might find that the price could end up doing something like this, going to the upside. If it holds above, then we'll still be waiting for ourselves. It might end up going all the way to the top before the sell does end up working out. But remember, we want to see some sign that the big boy sellers are actually there. The same way we have seen on the yen pairs, we definitely know the big boys are right there. So the main thing we want is just a pullback to jump in on the trade with them as well. So it's a similar situation here. We're not necessarily seeing the big boys coming in just yet. Maybe some small sign right here, but the buyers are still coming in a bit slow. But let's wait to see whether or not the London big boys will be interested in looking for the selling opportunity here. So moving on to the next New Zealand dollar pair, we do have the British pound against the New Zealand dollar. Now, yesterday, our bias was to look for selling opportunities. It's still today. You can see at 11 o'clock during the London market open, we did get the price breaching and giving us a pullback and holding below, where it attempted to continue coming down lower. Unfortunately, around 5:30 during the New York Stock Exchange, we did get more of a pullback coming in. So today, we've adjusted the level slightly. As you can see, the areas that we had highlighted yesterday are different from the levels that we have today, because the markets have adjusted. So overall, we'll definitely still be looking for selling opportunities. Right now, we did end up getting a small pullback coming in. You can see, although since we still want to look for selling opportunities, you need to ask yourself, are the big boy sellers back? Now, you look at the way the buyers came in quite strong within that area, and within that same location, look at how long it took for the sellers to come in. So definitely, the sellers are not yet ready. So even though the price has pulled back and we're approached, or at least we're close to that area, it doesn't mean that the selling opportunity is there, or at least it's ready just yet. Let's wait to see if we can get signs that the big boy sellers are actually interested. So one thing we really like to see is if we do end up getting some sort of probe. Probes are very nice because one thing is they incite all the breakout buyers to jump in on buys. When the price comes back down, at least we definitely know there are enough buy orders there for us in order for us to take this out. So we'll wait to see what ends up happening, but ideally this is the game plan for the British pound against the New Zealand dollar. Now, moving on to the next New Zealand dollar pair we do have, this is a New Zealand dollar against Swiss franc. Now, yesterday, our bias was to look for buying opportunities. Seems that the pullback was what was coming in on the New Zealand dollar against Swiss franc. As you can see, during the Asian session, they really did go up higher. But once the London session did come in, you can see the prices start giving us a pullback. It attempted during the US session to go up, but at around 5:30, it did end up continuing to come down. Now, overall, we will still be looking for buying opportunities. And our main areas that we do have are still this red line right here, where the last place we can look for our buy. We have our conservative area right there, and we have our last area right there at the top. Now, one thing we did end up realizing, especially when we're analyzing this price early in the morning, is that the price has pulled back to a major support and resistance area. Remember, we just had a look at the yen pairs where we did mention that there is a big move and we're expecting the market to potentially give us a pullback within that support and resistance area. I can quickly go to one of the yen pairs. You can see after the prices came down, we're expecting the price to give us a pullback to that level that was broken. So I'm seeing something similar happening here with the New Zealand dollar against the Swiss franc, where the price breached the upside. We did end up getting a pullback, did not react from there, but we are starting to get a reaction within this particular level. So even though we have highlighted those three major levels, do take note of this blue line, because right now you can see the prices have approached this area. Look at the way the sellers initially were coming down very strong, but now not necessarily as strong. So just because the sellers are not strong, that doesn't mean it's time to buy, because in order for us to buy, we also need strong buyers to come in. So let's wait to see if we can end up getting some sort of reaction within this particular area. The buyers come in quite aggressive. And you see the sellers slowing down. We could potentially end up looking for a buying opportunity there. If that's a bit too risky, you can end up waiting for the buyers to really come in, break and hold above this area. Let's wait for a pullback to come in for us to actually look for a buying opportunity there. So we have multiple opportunities to end up jumping on the buying opportunities here. But remember, as long as we're holding above the red SNR, our bias is still to look for buying opportunities. Now, moving on to the next pair that we do have, here we have the euro against the New Zealand dollar. Now, yesterday, bias here was to look for selling opportunities. Seems that the euro pairs really did end up giving us a pullback. So overall, you can see yesterday wanted to look for the sells, but the price continued going up higher, passing all the levels that we had wanted to look for the sells. But it's a similar situation. Remember, we did point out that the euro pairs did end up giving some sort of aggressive pullbacks. So, sorry, apologies for that. So now we can see the market did manage to go all the way back up to the main sellers area, all the way at the top. So that's the reason why I have adjusted the level right there. So we have our line in the sun right here at the top, meaning if the price breaks and holds above this red SNR, then ideally there should be no reason why we should be continuing to look for sells on this pair. In fact, this pair does fall off our watch list. But for right now, we will be focusing on these areas. We've approached an area of interest, definitely where they're big boy sellers. So let's wait to see. Right now, we've not necessarily seen any aggressive sellers coming in. So if we do see the buyers attempting to go up and then we see aggressive sellers, then we should be able to look for a very nice selling opportunity available for us right there at the top. So wait to see what ends up happening, at least waiting for some signs of big boy buyers to actually come in. Sorry, big boy sellers, sorry, to actually come in for us to continue looking for those sells. But for right now, you just need to be patient and watch to see what ends up actually happening. Now, last but not least, for the currency pairs, we do have the New Zealand dollar against the US dollar, brand new entry on our watch list. And here our bias is going to be looking for buying opportunities. So we'll be looking for buys as long as we're holding above this red support resistance area. Right now, to take note of the market structure, we seem to be bouncing off these two levels. And if we're just bouncing off two levels, most of you know that is a range. So you can see the price is bouncing off these areas. You can see this is just a probe, but the price never actually breached and held above. So if that does end up happening, just know that that level has not been broken and it is still being respected. As you can see, the price has bounced off this level multiple times. So we'll definitely still be looking for buying opportunities, but right now we're in the middle of the range. So definitely not a good place to look for your buys. Let's wait to see if we can end up getting the price giving us a pullback back within this buyer's area for us to look for buying opportunities. Or alternatively, if we do get the price going to the upside, let's wait to see if we can actually get the price holding above. Usually with ranges, if a range is broken and you confirm that that range is broken by the price holding either above or below, that could end up giving you a very nice trading opportunity as well. So wait to see what ends up happening. Either the pullback comes in within the buyer's area or the price breaches and holds above this particular area for us to look for those buying opportunities. So I hope that's clear on all currency pairs. As you can see, we've mixed and matched all the pairs on the buy side with the pairs on the sell side. So right now we're going to have a look at the indices before we do end up having a look at gold and silver. So starting off with the indices, we mainly focus on the NASDAQ as well as the Dow Jones. So we'll start off with the NASDAQ, the NAS 100. So yesterday, our bias here was to look for selling opportunities. Remember, we did point out these three areas where the sells could work out from. And highlighted this particular area here, since the market had reacted from here before, did tell you to just take note of that because it could end up happening again. But you can see in this situation, the price managed to go all the way up to the top when the main sellers are. We did get the price actually reacting within that location. And this was during the London market open where the price came down, not necessarily very aggressive, but it did end up bouncing off this buyer's area. You can see that was at 4 o'clock. The price just played around within this area, but the price had pulled back all the way to the top area right here. And that was at 5:30 during the New York Stock Exchange. And you can see that's when the price has attempted to try and come down lower. But one thing to take note of is we'll still be focusing on the three major areas that we did have. I think I can remove this one for now. So we'll still be focusing on the three major areas. And one thing to take note of is this level down here at the bottom, at least the middle level. You'll realize that the price attempted to break this area multiple times. You can see as the price came down, the fact that it never held below, this is just a probe. Similar situation when it attempted to do it again and came back up, it's just a probe, meaning the price is still holding above this support and resistance area. That level has not yet been broken. So since we are looking for sells, if we are able to get the price coming down and we see it actually holding below, then that would definitely be a good sign for us to look for those selling opportunities. But for right now, since we're within a buyer's area, one of two things can happen. Either the buyers decide to give up, or if they do decide to come back in, just make sure that you watch out for your selling opportunities at the top. The price, remember, with gold, silver, and the indices, the price breaks and holds above the red support and resistance area. At that point in time, we can actually start looking for buying opportunities on the NASDAQ. So hope that's clear on the NASDAQ as we move on to the next index, which is the Dow Jones, or the US 30. So here, similar situation, our bias yesterday and today is still to look for selling opportunities. So you can see yesterday, the price did end up reacting within that first area that we had pointed out. Wanted to see some sort of reaction. 11 o'clock, nothing really much happened, but it mainly happened during the New York Stock Exchange where it attempted to come down. And you can see it managed to come all the way back down towards our bias area right here. And that's the reason why we also point out these areas are not just there for fun. The areas where you should do some sort of trade management. You either call them support and resistance areas or even problem areas. If you've entered a trade, this is an area that could give you a trade problem. So just make sure you do something about it. So you can see the market did bounce off there, and you can see it did manage to continue going all the way up to the top. But overall, we are still within a seller's market. Remember, as long as we're holding below this red support and resistance area, our bias is going to be looking for selling opportunities. So right now we've approached this location very nicely. So we wait to see what ends up happening. No sign of big boy sellers just yet. In fact, the buyers are the ones who are still looking quite strong. So unless we get some sort of probe or price action signal right here where we see aggressive sellers, that's when we can end up actually looking for selling opportunities here. But be aware, remember we did point out the price is able to break and hold above this particular area right here, the red support resistance area. And at that point in time, we can actually start looking for buying opportunities on the Dow Jones. So we wait to see what ends up happening. But remember also one thing, this being the Dow Jones and the NASDAQ, they are mainly active during the US session. So just take note of that. Even though you might see some reaction during the London session, just know the main move is going to happen during the US session. So hope that's clear as we move on to the next pair that we do have, which is silver. Now, remember on silver, yesterday our bias was to look for buying opportunities, so it has been for a while. Remember, we did also point out the day before it had really come down quite aggressive. Did mention that this is something definitely to incite very many people to look for sells. And yet we realize that we are still within a buyer's market. This is the main buyer who did manage to push up to the upside. So right now we can see the price did manage to end up coming down. At 11, actually, it ended up spiking very nicely towards our buyer's area. So if you had a pending order there, that would have worked out quite well. And you can see throughout the rest of the day, it has just been grinding up slowly, mainly during the US session, 4 and 5:30. That's when you can see it really did get strength to go to the upside. But make sure you manage your trade within such areas because you can see this is an area that has definitely given issues. But right now, can see, remember, we did point out we need one of two things to happen. So since we're focusing on these three areas, and you can even see the same illustration that we had pointed out yesterday, can possibly even end up moving. You can see this right here, didn't mention if the price is able to break this area the upside and hold above, then we definitely should be able to find a nice buying opportunity. So right now, let's wait to see, since it does seem as if it's attempting to break, but we've seen that before. This is not a break. And don't start chasing the market. And this is what we call breakout trading. You're just seeing the market moving, you start jumping on buys, and you've not gotten confirmation that this level has actually been broken. So let's wait to see if we can end up getting this pullback, showing us evidence that the price is actually holding above. If we do end up seeing that, then definitely we will be looking for buying opportunities on silver. Remember, watch out for these problem areas, definitely, as they could give you some problems. So hope that is clear on silver, the game plan there. As we move on to the last pair that we do have, which is gold. So on gold, similar situation. Now, this is the pair that Christine and Peter, you did manage to end up grabbing. It seems that you grabbed yourselves right there at the top. I know I did point out that the prices could give a pullback, but overall, we were still in a buyer's market. You can see the pullback did come in London, where the prices continued coming down lower. Managed to get all the way back down towards the buyer's area. And if you take note of the time, this is at 5:30 when the prices actually started going to the upside. So you can see the timing end up giving you a very nice opportunity, especially if it's within a very nice area of interest, could give you a nice opportunity to look for your trading opportunities there. So we'll pretty much be focusing on the same levels, and you can see some similar correlation coming in with gold and silver. This level, at least there's a central level that we did have on silver, but the price looked as if it's breaching to the upside, but it has not yet been confirmed. Let's wait for a pullback to come in. If we get the price holding above, then we should end up definitely finding a very nice buying opportunity available for us. But don't be incited by jumping in on buying opportunities here, because what you'll find most people doing is they jump in on a buying opportunity here, they put their stop losses here, then you'll find that it was actually a probe where the market ends up just coming back in and getting a better price. Coming all the way down, everyone gets stopped out and they think it's the broker taking their money. No, it's the fact that you entered the market at the wrong time. So just wait for a pullback, be patient, wait for that confirmation, and you will end up increasing your probability of your trades working out. So hope that's clear on gold. And I guess that is it from me and from us. As you can see, these are the pairs on our watch list for now. We do have some fundamentals, remember, for the British pound at 10 o'clock. So that's around in 13 minutes. So do take note of that. But we will end up informing you if there are any changes on the watch list. You can see yesterday, we were meant to have some euro fundamentals at 1, but they disappeared, as well as some Swiss franc news. I know I mentioned yesterday that we'll inform you if there are any changes, but clearly there were none. It seems that the news disappeared. So let's hope to see if the fundamentals come out today and there are any changes, we'll definitely let you know. But this is definitely going to be something that could bring in volatility. So I guess that's it from me and from us. I want to thank you guys so much for joining me today. I really do appreciate it. If you do have any questions, queries, feel free to reach out to us. Our contact details are there in the description. And I guess that's it from me. So I want to thank you guys so much. Hope you found value in these sessions. Remember, make sure you like and subscribe, and make sure you also ring that bell notification so at least you're notified whenever we go live. So once again, thank you so much. Have an amazing day. God bless. Happy trading, and bye for now. Cheers, guys.